The Giants got that new shipment of bats I asked for from Boston. That's next on Curveballs and Changeups, a baseball podcast straight out of Sacramento. I'm Steve Harmon, and this is a podcast for Giants fans and baseball fans in general. I played the game, once hit a Grand Slam home run in an over 30 baseball league, and I covered the Hum Baby Giants as a sports writer in the 1980s and early 90s. I've been a baseball fan since 1967 when the kid down the block introduced me and my brothers to the Giants. A note, I'm hosting separate episodes on the Giants and A's. You can find both on all the platforms that host podcasts. Well, they had to give up some arms and even a top-hitting prospect, but the Giants instantly solidified a lineup in need of a big bat with Buster Posey's earth-shaking trade for Rafael Devers. Getting Devers could be the baseball coup of the year. Rafael Devers was the face of the Red Sox organization and now could be the face of the Giants. And Buster Posey is in the national spotlight for swinging this deal, showing chutzpah and boldness that's missing from today's major league general managers. Giants fans could just kiss the man for giving the Giants the street cred they just didn't see under Farhan Zaidi. Giants Twitter has been off the charts dizzy with excitement over this deal. A guy named Alex, who's got the Twitter handle Real SF Dynasty, called it a generational fleece. Baseball's version of the Luka trade. Ben Verlander, Justin's brother, who is a social media baseball influencer, said, "Holy moly, things just got real," all in caps. No pressure, Rafael. Many Giants fans haven't forgotten or forgiven Aaron Judge for spurning the Giants after teasing them by faking an interest in signing with them, or losing out on Shohei Ohtani. Heck, I go back to the day when Rod Carew chose the Angels over the Giants after he pretended to be interested in San Francisco. Giants have a chip on their shoulder over never being able to land the big free agent. They got over that a little bit when Willie Adames signed, but even though he signed the biggest contract in San Francisco history, it still didn't feel like they landed one of the big ones. Now they got one of the big ones, of course, by trade. Devers told Willie Adames he'll be in San Francisco in time for their series opener against the Cleveland Guardians Tuesday, and they're going to celebrate his arrival with a big press conference Tuesday at 2:30. All the brass will be there to introduce Devers to the media. Giants chairman Greg Johnson, Buster Posey, general manager Zach Minasian, Bob Melvin, Devers himself, and Giants interpreter Erwin Higueros. And the timing of the trade is exquisite. It coincides with an upcoming 3-game weekend series in San Francisco with Devers' former team, the Red Sox. That'll be quite a moment when Devers steps in against the only team he's known since he joined the Red Sox organization in 2014 as a 17-year-old kid out of the Dominican Republic. Devers has already told the Giants he's willing to play wherever they need him to, according to reports. That's a different tune from his spat with the Red Sox when they asked him to move to DH from third when they signed Alex Bregman. And later, after accepting his role as DH, he refused to move to first base when they asked him to. It was a controversy heard around the nation. Devers was unhappy with Boston's management for asking him to move to an unfamiliar position in the middle of the season. Just recently, Susan Slusser of the San Francisco Chronicle just reposted a tweet that had David Ortiz talking about the deal and talking about Rafael Devers. Quote, he said, "No one is indispensable on a team. The only way to become indispensable is by doing things the right way, all the way around. You need to be available. I think that marked the end of the relationship between the Red Sox and Devers. You have to be smart. A player's worst enemy is his ego. And guess what teams do with your ego? They buy it." Well, a little bit of bitterness on the East Coast over there, but it doesn't sound like Devers will be taking a similar Bartleby the Scrivener stance with the Giants. For those who don't know or didn't take 19th century American lit, that's a Herman Melville short story about a scrivener, or a person who hand copies material, who goes to work every day for a lawyer but winds up refusing to do the work his boss asks him to do. He would say every day, "I would prefer not to." That was his famous response. Don't forget, Devers started out a Bartleby-esque 0 for 19 on the season this year. Not that he refused to hit, but I think there was a lot of injured pride that the Red Sox mishandled. It took a while for Devers to warm up. He hit .267 in April. Then in May, he caught fire, hitting .356 with 7 homers and 33 RBIs. He's cooled off a bit in June, hitting just .208. He's 3 for his last 21, though he did hit an opposite field home run off Yankee lefty ace Max Fried, his last at-bat as a Red Sox on Sunday. He's a lifetime .279 hitter who's hit more than 30 home runs in a year 3 times, driven in 100 RBIs 3 times. He's always been a decent on-base guy with a .349 lifetime on-base percentage. This year it's over .400, and he leads the the major leagues in walks with 56. He is a bona fide star. And remember, he's only 28. This is his full 28-year season. Doesn't turn 29 till November. He's signed through 2033, which will make him 36 by the end of his $313 million contract, and $250 million of which the Giants have assumed. If you take a peek at the reaction in Boston, fans and observers are calling it a salary dump in the tradition of Mookie Betts and Chris Sale. Consensus seems to be that Red Sox fans feel the Giants got the better of the deal, though there's a lot of bitterness involved. Devers is coming into a situation in San Francisco where he's seen almost as a lineup savior, so the vibes can't help but be much better for Devers on this side of the country. One question, though, is Devers in game shape to take over a position? He's been a DH all year. Shouldn't take him long, you'd guess. But one complication in this is that third base is in flux with Matt Chapman out, and now Casey Schmidt is down with an ankle contusion. So there may be a possibility of Devers accepting just kind of the short-lived role of filling in at third base while we wait for first Schmidt and then ultimately Matt Chapman to take over. I mean, maybe it would be better just to put him in a spot you expect him to play and leave him there. Some people are assuming he'll ultimately be the designated hitter, meaning that Wilmer Flores, Dominic Smith, and even Gerard Encarnacion would settle into a platoon at first base. But what if Devers takes first base? The DH spot would then be wide open. You'd have the same trio of Flores, Dom Smith, and Encarnacion battling for DH at-bats. I saw that Devers was recently working through a groin injury that he called mild, but it is something to watch. He also has had injuries to both shoulders that happened last year. They found that there's no structural problems, and he's been on a strengthening plan all year. But my instinct, with all that said, is that he will be the Giants' designated hitter. Remember, Bryce Eldridge is looming in AAA Sacramento as the first baseman of the future and not too far off. So it wouldn't be smart to put Devers into the same position he was in with Boston of asking for a major in-season positional adjustment. There is the matter of respect and pride that has to go into dealing with an elite hitter like Devers. But the ripple effects will be felt. Someone will be taken off the roster when Devers arrives in San Francisco. Will it be Encarnacion sent down to Sacramento? I do wish they wouldn't have brought him up so quickly when they did, after only 23 at-bats in his rehab stint, and it's been showing in his major league at-bats. So maybe this is a chance to get him more consistent at-bats by sending him down. I can't see them DFAing Dominic Smith. He's shown himself to be very valuable as a defender and has been a real nice bat in the lineup and a good veteran presence. Maybe they DFA Daniel Johnson as the odd man out. He's basically the same player as Mike Yastrzemski, left-handed hitter with a great defensive profile. It was nice to see that home run in L.A. by Johnson Sunday, though. Now, parenthetical, I thought typical ESPN, when he hit the home run, it came after a pitch that hit the inside corner but was called a ball. Dodger pitcher Kirby Yates erupted with home plate umpire C.B. Buckner, and that was the entire focus of ESPN's broadcasters. Meanwhile, Johnson was rounding the bases with maybe the biggest home run of his career, bringing the Giants to within a run at the 8th inning. Come on! While we're on the Sunday game. That's a game the Giants could have won, notwithstanding all the distractions of the trade. They had a 3-2 lead. They'd gotten nice work by Sean Jelly, given the circumstances, 3 2/3 innings, 2 runs. and Melvin had a plan to patch the game together, but he brought in lefty Joey Lucchesi, who magically appeared on the scene to take Harrison's spot on the roster. Lucchesi in his matchups against lefties was a dud. He gave up 3 hits, 2 of which scored in the 5th inning when Ryan Walker hangs a slider to Dodger outfielder Andy Pages for a 3-run homer. Sometimes I wonder if players are paying attention. On the pitch before, he hung a slider that Pages just missed, but it was obvious Pages was on it and looking for it. Would have been a good time to bust a fastball on his hands. Anyway, the game was an afterthought, and the Giants were able to win 1 game in the series, a beautiful ace-like Cy Young level performance by Logan Webb. And the Giants left L.A. just 2 games out of first place with a 41-31 record, a game ahead of the San Diego Padres. Back to Devers. How does he reshape the lineup? Does he hit third, fourth? Does he hit second? Wherever he hits, he lengthens the lineup. He protects hitters around him, and he presumably provides power that's been missing. I say presumably because we don't know how Devers' bat will translate into the chilly, windy, and often unforgiving climes of Oracle Park. But as a left-hander who's made an art of hitting to the opposite field with power at Fenway, he should get his share of extra base hits and big hits. Remember, Devers is a world champion. He was a part of the 2018 World Series champion Red Sox. He made his first playoff appearance as a 20-year-old in 2017. He's had 8 home runs in 89 playoff at-bats with a .303 postseason batting average. He's got big-time, big-game chops, and that makes it such a wonderful deal that Buster Posey pulled off. All right, I wanted to also look at those so many moving pieces to this move. You can't forget the shock that Kyle Harrison, of all the pieces in the trade, must have felt when he found out. He was warming up as the starting pitcher in Los Angeles yesterday and was told he'd been traded 30 minutes before game time. He obviously cut short his warm-ups, replaced by the emergency starter, Sean Jelly. But you have to imagine what went through Harrison's mind. He was a Giant through and through, the kid from Danville, the East Bay, who'd always been seen as that next ace lefty. He'd been working his way through some starts, filling in for Justin Verlander, and hadn't really broken through with a command performance. Let's just say Verlander was ready to retake his spot in the rotation, and Harrison was likely the odd man out again, though he was hoping a good showing against the Dodgers could make the decision difficult. But now he's gone, headed to Boston's AAA team for a few starts in their system before they bring him up. It was kind of awkward watching the Giants as they played the Dodgers Sunday. You could see a buzz going through the dugout, a sense of excitement over getting Devers. But you had to wonder, do they just shut out the emotions of losing teammates? Logan Webb was talking about how excited he was, but also added that he told Harrison he'll be a star in Boston. It just is it's a tough spot for teammates, knowing that they're going to get better, but also knowing that they lose a relationship. Also gone is Jordan Hicks. After that dominant start in Houston, remember, 6 shutout innings in front of his family in that opening weekend, Hicks had just had a miserable season, and he'll be taking his 6.47 ERA to Boston. Now, but remember, he had some tough luck out there. His fielding independent pitching ERA is 3.59. So a lot of those ground balls that went through for hits in San Francisco are just as likely to be outs in the future. So I would not count him out being a factor for the Red Sox. It'll be interesting to see how quickly he recovers from that mysterious, quote, major toe injury that placed him on the IL. If he's healthy, he could face his former teammates real soon this weekend in San Francisco. Be interesting to see how he matches up against his teammates. Even if he shows a little of that fire he had against the Phillies when he had to be held back from some of their hitters for yelling at him for hitting Trey Turner. Remember that. And so, it probably will happen in a relief role, so he won't have a full lineup to deal with, and it'll probably in a tight spot. So we'll see how he works on that. The other 2 players are less known, but outfielder James Tibbs III is a hitter that we may be hearing from sometime in the future. He's the Giants' first-round pick from 2024, the 13th pick overall. He's hit 14 home runs in 315 at-bats in his minor league career, dating back to midway through last year, hitting 12 this year in High A Eugene. In his senior year at Florida State in 2024, he had 28 home runs and 215 at-bats. So obviously he comes with a lot of power, but his development was likely at least a couple years away, and the Giants were able to part with him. Jose Bello is the final piece. He's a 20-year-old flamethrower. He's had 105 strikeouts in 79 innings in his short time in the minors. Likely a faceless middle reliever who has 2 or 3 Tommy John surgeries down the line, but wishing him the best. Okay, before I go, though, I wanted to do a quick look at the matchups for the Giants-Guardians series. Game 1, it'll be Robbie Ray with his 8-1 and 2.55 record. Coming off a struggle in Colorado, just ran out of gas in the thin air, gave up 4 runs in 4 innings, 2 of them earned. The Giants wound up winning, so his record stayed intact. Should be good to go back home. He goes up against 25-year-old 6'4" righty Slade Ciccone, who's 1-3 with a 4.26, a former Arizona Diamondback who had just an ugly year last year, 2-7, 6.66 ERA. Has had 2 nice starts in June, though, 4 hitting the Reds on 1 run in 5 innings, striking out 8, and 5 hitting the Yankees on 2 runs in 5 innings. Both resulted in losses, though. The Guardians just have had kind of a back and forth season, very inconsistent. Game 2 will be Hayden Birdsong, 3-2, 2.79 ERA. Had a pretty nice outing, going 6 innings for the first time this year in Colorado. Only 6 hits, 3 runs, walked 2, struck out 6. Got over the 100 pitch mark for the first time, 104. And as Melvin said, that's like 125 pitches in the thin air of Colorado. So looking for Birdsong to continue to take steps to being the star he should be. Wonder what his thoughts were when Harrison was traded. Remember, Birdsong beat out Harrison for that roster spot out of spring training, though he didn't break the starting rotation until late May. The Guardians will be going with lefty Logan Allen. He was 4-4 with a 4.28. He's the kind of guy who gives Giants hitters fits. Why? Because he's a lefty. But he has reverse splits. Left-handed hitters hit over 300 against him, just in time for Devers. Game 3, it'll be a Thursday afternoon game. Logan Webb, 6-5, 2.58, gets his first start since that gem against the Dodgers on Friday. He gave up just those 2 hits in 7 innings, both to Teoscar Hernandez. He straight outwitted and outmatched the Dodgers troika of Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman, who combined to go 0-for-7 with a walk against Webb. If Webb keeps up his mastery, he should be in the conversation as one of the top 3 in the NL, a Cy Young candidate for sure. He'll be going up against Gavin Williams, a 6'6", 250-pound righty. He's been one of the consistent starting pitchers for the Guardians with a 5-3 mark, 3.89 ERA. In May and June, he's been real good, a 3.05 ERA and 41 1/3 innings, though he's had some control issues. He's walked 25 in those 41 1/3 innings. A question of how patient Giants can be. Okay, that's all I have for today. Thank you for tuning in to Sacramento's Curveballs and Changeups with me, your host, Steve Harmon. You can find Sacramento's best baseball podcasts on Apple Tunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Odyssey, the podcast app, and wherever else you can listen to the podcast. Please hit the subscribe button so you can get notified when my next podcast is up. I'm also on Twitter, or what some call X, and Threads, and post my episodes there. If you see it there, please retweet or repost and tell your friends. It would be great to grow our baseball-loving community. Okay, until next time, lay off the slider, low and away.